welcome back to the Movie Buffer. Tonight we're going to be discussing Star Trek Section 31. First of all, I am a Trekkie, so let's get that out there first, okay? Okay, there it is. This will have spoilers, so people, if you have not seen this and you would like to go see it before you witness the spoilers and hear them, please stop now, go watch the movie on Paramount, and come back. Okay? Alright, let's go. Star Trek Section 31 was released in 2025. This is an American science fiction television film directed by Olatunde Asusanmi, hopefully I said that correctly, and written by Craig Sweeney exclusively for Paramount. It marks the first television film and the 14th installment in the expansive Star Trek franchise under executive producer Alex Kurtzman. This serves kind of as a spin-off from Star Trek Discovery. The film is positioned within the Lost Era, quote-unquote Lost Era. Now, of the Star Trek universe and franchise, this era is the gap between the original Star Trek series films and Star Trek The Next Generation. Okay, so basically between Kirk and Picard. Okay, the narrative centers on Philippa Georgiou as she navigates her role within Section 31, a clandestine division of Starfleet charged with safeguarding the United Federation of Planets, and confronts her own complex history. In other words, fate comes back to haunt her. Michelle Yeoh reprises her role as Georgiou from Discovery. Plans for a spin-off series featuring Yeoh were confirmed in January 2019, but production faced delays because of, you guessed it, COVID-19. Instead, the focus shifted to Star Trek Strange New Worlds, another spin-off from Discovery. But Strange New Worlds is amazing, and it's its own thing, and I hate to say that it's connected with Discovery at all, because Discovery sucked. But anyway, we won't go into that. Maybe we will a little later. But anyway, Strange New Worlds is amazing, and I can't wait for Season 3. Now, Section 31 was subsequently reimagined as a standalone film, officially announced in April 2023. So at first it was going to be a series. And then, after the pandemic and all of that, and everybody got back to writing and got back to producing and being able to be in the same room, then they said, well, let's just make it a movie. Because Michelle Yeoh, she was too busy winning Oscars and stuff. So they really wanted to wait for her, and they decided, well, we'll just make it a standalone film. Okay. Now, the ensemble cast includes Amari Hardwick. Yep. From Power. He's so hot. He's just ridiculously hot. And he was so good in this movie. Sam Richardson, Robert Kaczynski, Casey Rawl, Seven Roy Grock, James Hirokoyuki Liao, I am probably butcher that, I'm sorry, Humberly Gonzalez, and Joe Pingu. The filming was done in Toronto, Canada, spanning from January to March of 2024. CBS Studios, in collaboration with Secret Hideout, actioned this day. And Roddenberry Entertainment produced the film. Star Trek Section 31 premiered on Paramount in January on the 24th, 2025, and has garnered mixed reviews, that's putting it mildly, from critics. Okay, my review. Oh my god. Okay, my review. Let me just give my take on the movie. First, people are really going after this. I mean, they are pissed. Okay, people are pissed. And I've watched a couple of reviews, people that I follow in the Star Trek world, and one, Trek Culture, really went in and analyzed it. That was great. That was the second review I listened to. The first one was scathing, and I do mean scathing. Horrible. Hated it. Now, Trek Culture, as they always do, they do their ups and downs. Shout out to Trek Culture. Please go follow them. They're amazing. And they really broke it down, of course. That's their premise, that's their whole thing. And I agreed with them. I agreed with a lot of what they had to say. And granted, I hadn't watched it yet. Okay. I was just agreeing with the fact that for me, a little background as a Trekkie, I have never liked the mirror universe. It has never been something that I really got into. And this is back starting at the beginning, the original series when they did the mirror universe. They introduced it, the Terran, universe. I never liked it. I don't know. Maybe it's like me. One of my favorite superheroes is Superman. And so I don't like anything where Superman is off or he's like a bad person. I hate that. So I don't, and we're kind of having debates on that now because of bringing Superman as a bad guy or whatever. I never liked the mirror universe. In Discovery, which I never liked either, although they did get better over the series of Discovery, I never liked Discovery because they screwed up the Klingons. And I couldn't get past that. I couldn't get past them messing with my Klingons. If I was in that time period, I would be a Klingon. Okay? I would be, because they're warriors and they fight to the death, and I love that about them. So, and they totally screwed them over, and the fans went crazy. And for myself, I hated it. Now, my son, who is a millennial, and he didn't grow up necessarily watching Star Trek, I don't think at all. So when he saw Discovery, he liked it because he had no reference point. He just liked it for what it was. And since I have a reference point of 40 years of reference, that I couldn't get around some of the things that they did in Discovery. So that pissed me off. Now, the fans were heard. Not fans, were Trekkies or Trekkers. Okay. But fans were heard. And they did kind of try their best to make Klingons back to what they are supposed to be. But by then, people were still fuming. And so they were like, okay, fine, I see what you're doing. I see what you're trying to do here. But whatever. So that was the whole thing with Discovery. Not to mention the fact that Discovery didn't feel like Star Trek, actually. It didn't have the feel. Same thing with the Kelvin universe, except for the first movie, 2009, which had played homage, and I thought in a very amazing way, to the original characters of Star Trek. But then after that, it kind of became just a copy of prior movies like Wrath of Khan and all that. So it was like, what is this? We've already seen this. Do something new. I mean, whatever. So anyway, the character of Georgiou was part of the Terran or mirror universe of Star Trek. And even though she's a very interesting character, obviously people really did take to her, but it was part of the Discovery. So, there's that. So anyway, so after this, she goes back in time, the character goes back in time within the Discovery at the end, and everything of her character. And then she goes back and then they use her, as they had used her before, as a Section 31 operative. So in this movie, it's the same thing. When she went back in time, she kind of hid herself away because she didn't want to be bothered with anyone. But they finally found her. I think they already knew where she was. They just didn't look her up, kind of a thing, until they needed her. And then they looked her up and asked her to come back in to do, quote unquote, the last final mission or whatever. And so she does, and she does it, and it gives a backstory of Georgiou that a lot of people didn't know. And I don't know if I really want to go into it, but just basically, remember the movie Wakanda? There's a few other movies that use this concept where in order to advance, you have to kill your competitor. So like in the movie Wakanda, they had to fight to the death or whatever in order to get the throne of being the Black Panther. Okay. So it's the same kind of concept where she had to fight through these ritualistic type of fighting. We don't get to see that, but we know it happened because they kind of tell us it happened. But her last final test and her soulmate, I'm assuming, her soulmate, San, they both had to go back home after all the killings and everything. They were the last two in this competition. So after that, they had to go back home and kill their family. That was their last task. She did, because she's a sociopath, if not a psychopath. We'll go into what the differences are there, but he didn't, because he's not a sociopath, He couldn't kill his family. She got pissed off at him because they were supposed to do all this together. Fast forward, she didn't kill him, but she made him her slave, basically. Like every other person who is not her are basically slaves in their universe. So he's pissed. He's fuming for 50 years or 40 years or whatever. And so she's fuming, he's fuming, and he wants revenge. And he figured the best way to do this is to get revenge by bringing a bomb that she created in order to have ultimate power or something, like the nuclear bomb, the atom bomb was supposed to, we have the atom bomb, so therefore, and you have the atom bomb, but if anybody uses it, of course, it's going to kill everybody, so therefore, we regain power or peace by not using it. It's really a crazy standoff, high noon kind of a thing, but that's what she does. So he gets the bomb and brings it to her in the future as time has passed to finally get his revenge. And, she is surprised that it's him. She thought he actually had died when he didn't, on and on. So this is like a love story gone bad. But the main part about this, and this is where I will kind of wrap up my analysis, the main part about this is that this is not Star Trek, okay? This is not a movie that says Star Trek. This is a sci-fi movie that happens to have Star Trek sounds in it, so happens to have the Star Trek music playing behind it in some scenes, especially the ending. This was actually created to be, and written to be, a series, but it got turned into a movie. So instead of rewriting everything or whatever, they just said, okay, we'll take this out, and we'll just, bring it down into an hour and a half or whatever for a movie, and that'll be the end of it. It was a stupid thing to do. What they should have done is got with the writers and said, let's create a movie. Let's make this a movie. But they didn't do that. Probably because they didn't have the time. They didn't want to go back and pay people all over again or whatever. So this Section 31 is not... If you watch this movie and you didn't know anything about the Star Trek connection, you wouldn't even think about Star Trek. You wouldn't even say, hey, this reminds me of Star Trek. You wouldn't even say that. That's how far away from Star Trek it is. And this has been happening since Discovery, where they have decided to take Star Trek out of Star Trek and make it Star Wars or some sort of just sci-fi to get fans, and I believe this is why they're doing this, is to try to get fans who don't know anything about Star Trek. They're just saying, well, let's just make something action-packed, that's fun, and that's science fiction-y. We're going to get you to become a part of this universe and fandom without it being about the fandom of actual Star Trek. That is what the writers now are doing. And I'm sure Gene Roddenberry is just turning over in his grave. He's spinning like the darn ship in Discovery going through a wormhole or whatever the frick it was. But it's so crazy. And on the one hand, I get what they're trying to do, but on the other hand, you are distancing yourself from the major core fans, and they're pissed at Section 31. Now, if they had written Section 31 as just a regular sci-fi movie without it being Star Trek, it would have been fine. I actually quite enjoyed it. It didn't suck. I looked at it as a regular sci-fi movie. Why? Because it didn't remind me of my beloved Star Trek. It didn't remind me of that at all. It just reminded me of a sci-fi movie that I may watch because I like sci-fi, and that's it. If they had done that, it would have gotten much better reviews. Anyway, that's my take, and I took a heck of a lot longer than I wanted to talk about this, and I can go on and on and on. And I didn't want to talk about the lore and the backstories and all that stuff because it's really been talked about. It's been done. If you want a more in-depth review, please head over to Trek Culture and listen to their ups and downs of this movie because they really go into it. But otherwise, let me know how you feel in the comments. You watched it. What did you think? Are you a Trekkie? Are you just someone who decided, oh, hey, I'm going to watch this because everybody's talking about it, so let me watch it. And you watched it and you were like, oh, that's not so bad, or whatever. Let me know. Like I said, I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was good. I enjoyed watching it. I really did. But I took out Star Trek in order to do that. But it didn't suck. So let me know your thoughts and your comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, people. I know I'm flaky and I'm all over the place when I post videos. I'm going to do better. I promise. But yeah, so let me know. Let me know. Let's get the conversation going. Let me know what you think about it. And as always, peace, 2 fingers.